This is such a common panel design with the little circle with the two panels and the kind of
you see it
those
often.
funny looking miters, those really acute miters.
Yeah, I saw that a lot. This was in France. I believe this is Napoleon's quarters.
Really?
Oh, really?
Wow.
The interesting thing is that this joint here is something we've discussed before. It's called a hunting miter,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh,
not
you're
actually cut
right,
straight.
you're
It's,
right.
it's
Talked about that
a
before.
slight radius.
You're right. That's that same hunting miter that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Huh. There's another shot, I think, in here. Yeah, there's that same pattern again with
You've
all
got them
the
all over the place.
yeah, the circles and the panels. Oh, look
This
how
one is really acute. Look at that.
yeah. Yeah, that miter looks the way the circle, the way the radius shape kind of dies into that miter. So that's a hunting miter too.
That's right.
Huh.
Very unique joint right there. It has to actually be curved for all the profiles of the molding to line up correctly.
It's not a straight miter.
It's
You
not
don't
a
just
straight
cut it
miter.
on a miter saw.
Right, you can't just cut it on a miter saw.
That is so cool. You guys
Curved
used this. Didn't you use? Yeah, you sent me these pictures. This is a job that the two of you did.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So you used that same joint right here in this living room.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell, but
There's a better picture here.
yes.
This
Yeah,
one.
right on this up easing on the chair rail, where the curved joins the straight, where it joins a level. You have to have the same miter.
And here's
Curved
another
miter.
shot. You can see it even closer on this one.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
So it's not. This is how you handle the transition changes in chair rail in all the houses you do. I mean, do you do that this way all the time?
No. This is normally what we've always done before is when we have a split level room like that. And I'll just draw this out real quick. If you have the one level of the room and you have a couple stairs going up like this, this is looking in elevation.
Yep.
And you have the height of the chair rail on this upper part of the room and the height of the chair rail on the lower part.
Yep.
I mean, what we've always done is just a straight transition piece.
Oh, that's exactly what I do.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Just a transition that follows the rake of the
Right.
skirt board.
There was even a conversation on JLC not too long ago about that very question. How to transition the height of the chair rail in a split level room.
Uh-huh.
And after studying a lot of classical architecture, I've always wanted to do an up-easing, like what you see at the top of the handrail.
Yeah, I showed the same thing in a
Right.
couple of pictures, like from the John Brown house and some slides in the last DVD program. I
Exactly.
showed everybody, you know, how they ease the stair wainscoting up to the landrail.
Exactly,
wainscoting,
you see
yeah.
the wainscoting matching the handrail.
Uh-huh.
And so instead of a straight transition, I'm going to draw the same picture here, the same two treads. And here's your height of the upper chair rail,
Uh-huh.
and here's the height of your lower chair rail. It's going to be an up-easing that's curved.
Very cool.
Like this. So this is where your honey miter comes in.
Right where that joint is.
Right where the curve joins the straight.
But how do you decide what the radius is going to... I always get so confused on... Do you get confused with radiuses?
Well, in this case, it was arbitrary. I mean, this point really did not relate to anything in particular.
Really?
And
you take-
it could have been elliptical.
Oh, so it could
In
be
this case,
any
It
shape.
could be any radius. In this case, we took the height of the lower and the height of the upper, and this measurement right here was our radius.
Oh,
if you
so
took
they
a compass
so
and
they just
swing
perfectly
that-
they just perfectly kind of died into each other.
That's right. You
One
can
transitioned right into the
You
other
can see in the photo how that's the perfect radius
for that
particular
rise.
situation. Yeah.
I
It doesn't
see.
have to be that radius. It can be more of a larger radius.
Uh-huh.
But either way, that joint is the same. It's the same hunting miter. It's the same curved joint.
Cool. Oh, but and it's the same miter.
That's right.
And why do they call it a hunting miter? Where did that come from? I mean, we've got Collins's book here, right? And
Yeah.
he's got this in here someplace, doesn't he? I think we marked the page. Can you
Yeah,
find it?
he has a...
Show me that, Jesper.
he has
Because it's
brief
a desperate
description of
hunt
it.
for the correct radius of the cut.
Oh, you think that's what it means? That's what it's for hunting for the correct radius of the
Possibly. Yeah, the book has a chapter where it shows how you'd lay out the straight section and the circular section, and has all the intersections. So here's the hunting miter, and he's plotted out all the points of the profile, and you can see where they intersect would actually be a radius.
Oh, you plot the
And-
points or something.
Yeah, it shows drawn out, so you have each point of the profile. It shows the profile and section.
Oh, is extended.
Yeah, so he takes each point, like you'd have to
God, this,
identify each
I don't know
point
what
of
it
the
is about this
profile.
book, but it's always confused me. I've never been able to follow much of this stuff.
Well,
in this
here's a
book.
good way to illustrate that. If you have your straight chair rail, I'm just going to draw this out full size here,
Okay.
or close to full size. If you can picture your straight chair rail coming in like this, extend this out a little bit, and your curved piece hits it like this, right? Now you might think that this would be a straight miter,
Right.
like you would normally bisect an angle on two straight pieces of molding, right?
Absolutely.
Well, it doesn't really work out to be that simple. Because if I was to draw a few more lines in here, and these would represent the profiles on the molding, the beads and the fillets and whatever else is on this molding, and the same profiles on this curved piece, if you were to join each one of these points, it would not be a straight line. It has to be a curved line through there.
Oh, to
Yeah.
pick up each one of these points.
That's right.
Oh,
you
isn't
have to
that
run the
great?
profiles through. So if I was to draw this profile, real quickly sketch a little molding in here. If this was a molding, you would want to run each one of these profile lines into the intersection. And if you connect those dots, it's going to give you very close to the radius. that you're looking
Oh,
for.
so these are each one of these lines here has to be continued all the way out into the intersection of the miter.
Right, and same thing on this radius piece here.
Ah.
It's the intersections of all those points that determine.
And that's how you
curve.
plot those points. That's how you figure out where those points are.
Right. But I didn't
Right.
have to tell Jasper all this. All I did was give him a drawing that showed the up-easing.
So he didn't give you a drawing like this. How did you come up with the miter?
Well, I knew it had to be cut at a slight radius.
Yeah.
I'd heard about it, but I didn't have a chance to do it before. So it would be a fun project for me too.
Oh, great. So you guys were just playing around on the job.
Pretty much.
Just sometimes you have to do that. You know, you get this idea and you want to do something a certain way, and sometimes you don't even get paid for it, but you just got to do it the right way. You know, it's just
Yeah.
kind
But
of
you
cool.
got to have fun with your work, right?
Absolutely. You got to have fun doing what you're doing. If you don't, like, what's the point? So I think I've got some pictures in here of actually, yeah, here's a shot that we've got that you gave me of the miter that you had this finished.
Look how tight
Right.
that joint is. Jasper did a beautiful job on that joint.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's just perfect.
It's a bit hard to tell here, but there's a slight radius to that joint, and I believe there's a
It's just hard to
Close-up.
see in the picture.
close up that shows.
Let's look at the next one. Oh, this is how you got started.
Okay, yeah. So this is the first piece. So the first thing was to draw the outline of both pieces, because
Uh-huh.
the first thing I want is this intersection point on the inside and the
Kind of
outside
like
of the
the
molding.
tangent points, the same way we do any radius.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't want to try to measure
No.
angles or anything.
No, you
It's
find your short
unnecessary.
point.
You just draw it out and you trace that little point. on
A
the
short
inside
point
and
and a
outside.
long point. That way you
On
can
each-
bisect. You get the basic bisection.
Right, the same way
Yeah.
we do any kind of radius like that.
Right.
Oh, and this is the piece that you got your easing from.
Yeah, this is for another part of the project, but it shows what we had to work with. We had a turner in-house who made this on the lathe, so we just gave him a small section of the straight molding, and he was able to
And he turned this
And
for
he
you on
turned
the
it.
he
lathe.
was able to duplicate it exactly.
Which is why you see the cutout here. He would take a small slice of the molding and stick it in his donut before he turned it, and he would very carefully freehand turn
Oh,
it down
that's how
to
he
the
turned
sliver
it.
of molding.
So he created the donut, then he took a slice out and he put the piece of the molding into there so that he could match
Right.
it as he was
Right.
going, as he
And
was
just
turning.
took the waste out.
Wow.
match.
I've seen
actual
Jed
molding.
Dixon do this too, make an easing like this, like for stair rail, and he uses this pendulum jig on a shaper. You've
Yeah.
still seen him do that when you were out
that's
there.
another way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you only get that one section of the radius instead of the whole thing.
Right.
Very cool. So that's how you got the pieces. And then you oh, you're so
right,
here
so
you're
this is
still
the next step.
you're
This
reaching
is
for the next long point and short point.
Right, so now I have the
tangent.
2 points, and I marked those 2 points on both pieces of the molding, because that's basically where the cut line is.
Okay. And this is what Dan was drawing.
Right. There you're extending the profiles of the molding so that he can run a curved bisection.
I
Right.
see. So you took the profile lines right here, the profile marks, and you extended them out to the miter?
Yeah, I simplified it. This is actually the template that I'll be using for the next step when I'm cutting the molding. So rather than lay it out on paper, then transfer it to a template, I just drew it out on the template, and I just drew short lines because all I need is to know where this intersects with the points in the radius molding.
I see.
And here, now, if you were to lay this out the way it's described in this book, you would use a compass and draw out all the different circles that would be at all these points. Instead, just to simplify it, I just drew a series of dots and slid this piece of molding along.
So he basically took all these intersection points here and just found a fair radius, right? That would hit all those points.
Right. So
I see.
Here you can see. Actually, you can see how far off it would be if I were to cut this straight. Because now it's straight. I haven't cut the radius yet. You can see there it's off by at least 1/8 of an inch.
I see. This is a straight miter across here,
Right.
and none of these points are lining up at all. They're really way off.
So
Right.
you can see on this big bead right here, this is the same bead on the curved piece.
I see.
You'd be over 1/8 of an inch off.
Oh boy,
if you were
you'd
to
be
cut
in
a
there.
straight miter.
You'd be in there with a Dremel tool or something.
That's right.
Huh.
That's why you have to have the curved miter, the hunting miter.
Cool. Very good. So, how did you figure out what the radius was going to be for that miter?
Well, first I just looked at these 2 points and where they would actually intersect. And I started just freehand
Oh,
drawing an
Yeah.
approximate
that's what I
approximate
do.
curve.
Yeah.
But in order to get a nice fair curve, I just used a flexible protractor, and that'll give you a pretty nice radius.
what
For
a
these
great
purposes,
idea.
It was enough.
Great idea. So it's a fair curve. It's a fair radius.
He could see that he had to pull this particular profile line back to that certain point, and then once you have that third point, it's easy to get a fair radius.
Aha. Very cool. Very cool. That made it easy. Oh, and there they are. So you cut the
Yeah.
radius on the first piece?
Exactly. So now this is cut, and now you can see that was 1/8 of an inch off when this was cut straight. Now they line up perfectly.
Excellent. Excellent. What a perfect example. Oh, and this is the profile of your molding, so you can see, where each of your lines are coming out. We've extended the lines of the profile.
So
Right.
not only does Jasper have it drawn correctly, he now has a template that he can cut his curve with.
Oh, so you
Right.
use these pieces as your
Yes.
template.
These are both templates. And now the next step is I'm just tracing a line across here so these templates match up exactly. And this is actually following the radius piece exactly, the same width and everything. So now the two templates match exactly, and they're ready to be attached to the molding.
All right.
And here you see it screwed to the back of the molding.
I see.
And you see my router table there.
Yeah.
And it's just a flush cutting bit.
We love flush cut bits.
Oh, yeah. So it's a templating bit, and
Yeah.
the bearing here is following the template underneath the molding.
Exactly.
So you can see that he has his curved piece cut long, and it's attached to the template. He's going to cut that hunting miter on the end of the curved piece before he makes the final,
Okay.
to cut it to its final length.
I see. So he'll cut the hard miter first and the easy one last.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't we all do that? Okay, cool. Very cool. So here you're cutting it on the router.
Yeah.
Cool.
And one thing you notice is that this profile gets pretty thin at the end, so you have to be very careful. You can tear out a chunk of your molding, so very slow. And,
oh, as you're coming off the back, after you're coming out of it.
Yeah.
And this is the finished cut.
Yeah.
Just perfect. So that's how you get the exact miter on the end of your molding.
So that's the straight piece.
I mean, it's really the same thing. I mean, both of them were cut long, and then
So you
I
repeat the process.
shaved off about a 1/4 inch or so with the router bit.
Oh, so you actually used the template to cut the straight piece too.
Yeah. Well, they're both the radius. I mean, they have to-
Oh,
they have
that's
to
right.
match.
They both have to
Opposing-
match.
So
opposing
you saw where the
templates.
two templates were next to each other. You saw the
Right.
slight radius. So
So both ends have to be cut at the radius.
yeah.
I see. So this is the
But
other
opposing
side.
radiuses.
The opposing radius.
Right.
Okay.
One is
I
an
see.
outside radius, one is an inside radius.
So that's why
And
I cut both pieces slightly long, so I could just shave off, the last 1/4 inch with the router bit.
Okay. Oh, and there's the
Yeah,
finished
the
joint
finished
just laid
pieces.
up.
Yeah. So this
Dry
is
fit.
this is directly after it was cut on the router bit, and no detailing, just the two pieces next to each other. So
What a great fit.
yeah, I mean, you can imagine if you were to detail this with a straight cut, you would
You'd lose
you'd
the-
spend hours just
Yeah.
trying to make it look right.
And you'd lose the look of the whole molding. It wouldn't
Yeah.
look clean and sharp and crisp.
That's right. Now this piece right here is hand turned. It's not cut with a machine.
Right, so you can see a
So
slight discrepancy, which is really just in the turning.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, this radius is correct to make the profiles line up.
And there's the piece back in on the wall again.
Yeah, so here it's installed, and then here you can see the chair rail will wrap around a pedestal. So instead of trying to miter this joint, I just coped it. I mean, that's a...
Oh, so you left the other end long and you coped one into the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big
That
on
would make it-
coping. We're big on coping.
Yep.
Yeah, coping. That makes it easy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It makes it easier, plus it's a nicer joint.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really, oh, and there's the finished wall. Excellent.
And we actually did the same thing on the opposing wall. So the nice thing about this is once I had the templates made, I can just use the same templates for the next...
For the other side of the
next
wall. So you weren't
You
wasting
just
your
had to flip
time.
them over, right?
Yeah, so it was real simple.
So it was no waste of time. It wasn't like you were making the template for just one piece of
No,
wood.
I use the same one twice. So
Excellent. Actually, I guess if you were doing a room and there were several stairs going into the room or something, several transitions, you just make one template, you do the whole room with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we're back to the beginning. Hey, I want to thank you guys for coming today. That was really great. I'm really glad you were able to share that with us. And I think all of the viewers in the DVD program are really going to get a lot out of that. So really, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Jesper.
We had a lot of fun on that project, and we're happy to share it.
Hey, I'm glad you did. That was great. Thanks for coming.